Hey everyone, are you looking for ways to better navigate the complexities of life? Well, join me because in this video, I'll explain how the principles of systems theory can help you better understand your reality and therefore help you move towards your goals. So let's get into it. So you may have heard me talk about systems theory quite a lot on here. As an actuary and a mathematician, I love systems theory because I think it is the best model of reality that I've found. Not to say it's the only one, we want to use multiple mental models, as Charlie Munger would say, but systems theory to me is the most accurate model I've found of how to think about the world we live in, particularly for human systems. So in this series, I'm going to run through different features of systems and show how they can be applied to your everyday so you can better understand your reality and move towards your goals and live the life that you want. So the first one is algorithms, and I chose algorithms to be first because I think it's the simplest and probably the most applicable. An algorithm is essentially if you do X, then you get Y, or if you have inputs X, then you get output Y. And this is a common feature across all systems, even complex systems. So I'm going to run through 5 features of algorithms in complex systems and show how they can be applied to your reality so that you can better use them to your advantage. So feature number 1 of an algorithm in a complex system is that it should give you a result with reasonable certainty. So actually, much of self-help is algorithms essentially. So these people that write books about how you want to improve your life, they're generally giving you algorithms, i.e. recipes for if you do this, then you should get this outcome. So if you follow this diet, then you should get this weight loss. Or if you follow this investment plan, then you should make enough money to retire on. Or, you know, if you say this to your wife, she will like you more. So yeah, most of the self-help industry and just advice in general, people providing algorithms to each other. So in this complex world that we live in, here's what you can do to better achieve the results you want. I guess a habit could also be thought of as an algorithm, but something you just kind of do automatically. So, you know, when you come home from work, you do X, for example. So perhaps by understanding the algorithms are everywhere and you're doing some things automatically potentially and some things you're doing more intentionally, it's worth thinking through the algorithms that you're currently following to see if they're serving you well or to see if they're not serving you well. So feature number 2 of algorithms in complex systems is that there is an element of randomness in that algorithm in general. And that element of randomness can vary depending on the algorithm. So because we're talking about complex systems here, typically algorithms don't give us a result with 100% certainty. And we need to understand that and accept that. So this means that sometimes you might follow an algorithm that you've been given and you might not get the result that you expect. So for example, you follow diet X and your weight goes up. Or you invest in stock Y and you don't get the return you expected. In fact, you might get a severe negative return. And that's the element of randomness in the system or in the algorithm coming through. So I think a lot of people tend to give up on algorithms if they're not getting the result that they want, or if they're not anticipating the randomness or the variation that's inevitably going to happen while they're applying the algorithm. So yeah, a classic example, like weight loss and investing are great examples here where, yeah, there's a volatility around the direction of travel. So if you take any one single point in isolation, you might be heading in the wrong direction, but over time the trend is in the general correct direction. The problem is, I think, if you don't understand that or if you don't expect that, then you might give up on the algorithm too early, or you might think that it doesn't work at all. I would say that a good way around this to some degree is to expect the randomness, or even better, kind of expect a distribution around the goal that you're expecting to get. And that can help you better identify if this algorithm's working or not. And it can also help with the ups and downs that inevitably will come with the randomness. So instead of getting sad about, you know, your weight going up after following a diet for a week, you might understand that that's part of the process. There's going to be some randomness in there because your body's a complex system and it's not going to work perfectly. So just accept that and kind of move on and continue to follow the algorithm regardless. And by understanding the distribution, you can better see if things are really working or if they're really not working. So you might look at weight loss and also typically pattern of a stock investment will typically have a variation around the direction, and that variation volatility is sometimes considered to follow a normal distribution. So small moves are quite likely and very frequent in either direction, and big moves are quite unlikely. So by better understanding the distribution of randomness within the algorithm, that can help you kind of manage the inevitable randomness that will come through. Feature number 3 of algorithms in complex systems is that if it's a complex adaptive system, i.e. the system learns, then the algorithm might become less effective over time. So some complex systems are what they call adaptive, which means they have memory and they learn over time. So a good example of this is, I guess, your body. So your body adapts over time to certain stimuli and algorithms, and it could eventually plateau because what your body has learned to basically absorb the new thing that you're giving it, the new stressor, the new algorithm that you're putting it through, and has learned to cope with that and stop changing over time. So what caused you to lose your first 5 kilograms might not help you lose your next 5 kilograms. And I think lots of people at this point get frustrated with this fact and get frustrated with the plateau and typically give up. But the way to use this to your advantage is basically to realize that your body has adapted, the system has moved on, and you need to use a new algorithm to work in the new system to move you that next bit further. You know, I think about this is true in all sorts of fields. So technological innovation, you know, initially it can help move a system very far, but then that technology is basically embedded within the system. Everyone's using it now, and that technology can no longer help move the system even further. So it basically means that you require constant evolution in a complex adaptive system to keep the system moving in a direction or to keep progressing. So an actionable outcome here is that you can look to see where you might be plateauing in an area and look to see where you can improve the algorithms that you're putting to use to try and achieve your goals and to see if you can improve on them in any way. And I definitely had a personal experience of this with my weight loss journey where my diet plan, I guess the inputs to my weight loss algorithm worked for a bit, and then I realised that I was plateauing around a certain weight, and it took me a while to realise that what I needed to do is, again, change the algorithm, change the different food inputs that I was using, and that helped me continue on my weight loss journey. Another kind of application of this might be, you know, in the area of work where you might be an expert in an area, let's say sustainability, for example, and you may know way more than everyone else at work in the complex system, but the system is adaptive. So over time, people will learn the sustainability information, and your information will no longer put you at an advantage. The overall system has adapted, it's learned, and now it's moving on. And that tends to be how knowledge kind of gets embedded within human systems. So a key learning from that is don't rest on your laurels and keep learning and evolving so that you can stay ahead in your area, because it's not going to be there forever, essentially. There are often like folksy, can be related to systems theory. So I would say with this one, it's, you know, when you're on top of your game, change your game. So that's a kind of folksy recognition that, yeah, in human systems, they're adaptive. If you have an advantage, it might not be there for long because the system will learn it and embed it, and you need to kind of stay ahead of that. So element number 4 is there is a time delay typically between inputting things into the algorithm and getting the output of an algorithm. So we like algorithms that give us instant gratification. We eat the donut and it gives us a sugar hit. We look at our phone, it gives us a dopamine hit. We, I don't know, yell at someone and feel better instantly. But the problem is with this is they typically have negative long-term connotations. So often the best algorithms are ones that take quite a long time to work in this world, in this complex system that we live in. And this is what people talk about, I guess, with delayed gratification. So often the best things take a lot of time, and that's why patience is such a virtue. You know, weight loss takes a long time, becoming the CEO of an organization takes a long time, investing takes a long time. You know, by delaying the gratification and following algorithms that take a long time, you can often get better results. I think lots of people tend to give up on certain algorithms because of this delay, because they're looking for more immediate feedback or more immediate kind of results from their actions. But I think you can kind of pick up from people that have been successful how important it is to kind of delay that gratification and focus on longer term algorithms. So it might be worth looking at where you're kind of focusing on the short term rather than long term, and potentially giving up on algorithms that are intended to work over a long period of time. And I guess focusing more on enjoying the inputs to certain algorithms that take a long time can help you stick with them over the long term rather than relying on those results. And then feature number 5 is that the effectiveness of an algorithm will be dependent on the system's environment. So complex systems typically reside within an environment. So for me right now, like the complex system of me is within my study here. And quite a lot of algorithms are kind of environmentally dependent, if that makes sense. So you might be given an algorithm in isolation, but I think lots of people forget that there's a kind of environmental context to a lot of algorithms that enable them to work. And this is a problem with transferring algorithms across different parts of the system. So it might be a problem with transferring an algorithm between individuals, because individuals have different environments. Is a problem with transferring algorithms across time, because something that worked in the 1920s might not work now. You know, it wasn't much of an issue 50 years ago because there was only 2 billion people on the planet, whereas now there's like 8 billion. So the environmental context there is just completely different, i.e. the environment to which an individual lives is very different because there's just so many more people on the planet now. So I think it's important to recognize this when getting algorithms from people. You know, one of my pet peeves here is intergenerational advice. So you should do property investing because when I was young, I did that and now I'm really rich. Obviously the property market has exploded over the past 50 years and therefore I can't go and buy a house or like an investment property in London because they're all incredibly overpriced. So it's just not an option for me anymore. So that algorithm of gaining wealth just isn't working for me in my environmental context, i.e. my time. So other examples might be, going back to the weight loss example, I ate this exact diet plan and now I'm 10 stone lighter, let's say. But obviously that person that did that probably has a completely different environment that they executed that algorithm within. So that person might have better food options at work, or they might have a partner that cooks them nice meals, or they might have a great personal trainer that helps them, motivates them by giving them diet advice. There's all this environmental context around algorithms that we need to be conscious of. So if we feel like an algorithm's not working, then it might be the environmental context that's causing that. Likewise, we should recognize and try and improve the environment by which we're executing an algorithm within to help us meet our goals. So there we have it. That was my first video of systems theory applied. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to do quite a few of these. So please do give me any comments or feedback on these. I think it's great to kind of get a bit meta about the world and a lot of the kind of noise that we hear, because it helps you kind of think bigger picture about these things. So hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out more from me.